and things like that. So we are trying to make these sessions as personable as possible. If you are operating on a device that has a camera, if you wouldn't mind turning that camera on, it does help to go ahead and interact with you when we can see your faces. I also wanted to note that this session is going to be recorded for future use. We'll go ahead and send it to any students that weren't able to make tonight's session. In addition, because we are expecting so many people to be joining us, if you don't mind when you're not speaking, if you could keep your microphone muted, that is really helpful. It will help eliminate any background interference. And last and most importantly, I want to let you know that this session is for you. Any question that you have, we most definitely want to go ahead and make sure we get answered before we leave here tonight. There are a couple of ways to go ahead and interact with us during this virtual visit. The first one I want to point out is actually that we have a secure Mercyhurst University text message account. And if you wanted to send us a text message from your cell phone, you can most definitely write this number down. Our text message number is 814-402-8323. Again, that number is 814-402-8323. But if you prefer to interact with us via this platform on Zoom, you most definitely can do so as well too. If you are on a desktop or a laptop, if you hover over the bottom of your screen, in the middle of your screen, you'll notice that a little chat bubble pops up. It looks like something you might see in a comic book. If you go ahead and click on that, you can type your entire question directly in that window and we'll go ahead and ask that question on your behalf. If you'd like to audibly ask your question, all you have to do is simply say in that window, I have a question, and we'll make sure the floor is directed to you before the session's over tonight. In addition, if you've joined us on a mobile device, you definitely still have access to that chat function as well too. At the bottom of your screen, you'll probably see an ellipse or 3 dots. Click on that, then click on the chat button. And again, go ahead and either type your entire question in there or go ahead and simply say, I have a question, and we'll go ahead and get those answered either way for you. We'll most likely go ahead and answer all questions after our brief presentation on Accelerated Scholars Program is actually finished. It's now my pleasure to go ahead and introduce today's guest, Mr. Steve Gregg. He's the director of our high school initiatives, as well as our Accelerated Scholars Program at Mercyhurst University. Mr. Gregg?
Thank you, Andrea. I appreciate you inviting me here tonight to join all of you to talk about what I think is a really exciting and unique program that we offer here at Mercyhurst. About 2 years ago, there was a group of Mercyhurst faculty and administrators that were called together into a conference room with the hope of sitting around and figuring out a way that we could create a program that would provide an enriching and challenging experience for juniors and seniors in high school that would allow them the opportunity to start their college degree early, prior to them finishing high school. And with that, we were also kind of given the goal of making sure that whatever we came up with was convenient and affordable for those students who choose to take part. So what we came up with is something that we call the Accelerated Scholars Program. And we launched the first cohort of this last January. And what the program is, it exists in kind of a dual enrollment situation where high school juniors and seniors have the opportunity of taking between 15 and 17 college credits while they're in high school. And all the coursework that is part of the program is offered online. So they're Mercyhurst courses that high school students take kind of in an online platform. When I mean online coursework, we have to kind of define what that really looks like. Most of you at this point, if you're taking classes right now in this COVID era, your online coursework probably consists of a Zoom classroom, kind of like what we're doing tonight, where you're sitting in front of your computer screen or your phone and you're listening to your teacher. The coursework that you would take as an Accelerated Scholar Program, you go to the next slide, Andrea, is something that we call asynchronous learning. So it's not an online course where there's a set time every day or a set time a few days a week where you have to log in and be engaged in real time with your coursework and your professor or instructor. The classes are designed in an asynchronous fashion so you can log in at your convenience and work on the coursework that you're taking when you have the opportunity to do so. For some of the students that are in the program, that means utilizing study halls or free periods within their typical high school schedule. For other students, that means finding time after school or in between their extracurricular activities to work on their dual enrollment online coursework. All the coursework that we have online at Mercyhurst is worth noting is designed by our Mercyhurst faculty members in conjunction with our Office of Distance Learning. So some online coursework at some institutions, there are course modules that might be purchased through a book publisher or some sort of third-party curriculum company. All of our courses are designed by our faculty with the hope of mirroring what the traditional in-classroom experiences are. So if you're in a Mercyhurst online course, we like to think it's a little bit better than some of the online coursework that some other institutions might offer. All the coursework that is offered through the Accelerated Scholars Program is pulled from our Mercyhurst Reach curriculum. So our general core curriculum courses that any Mercyhurst student would take as part of any academic program that they might go into. So whether you're a biology major or a finance major or you're pre-med, the courses that you would be able to take in the Accelerated Scholars Program would count towards course requirements towards your degree. The other thing to mention about those Reach curriculum courses is that they're also very easily transferable. So if after your high school graduation, you decide not to join us here at Mercyhurst and go off to another four-year institution, the coursework that you've taken with us is going to transfer there as well and probably fulfill either an elective requirement or some of the core curriculum requirements at those institutions. What we've done is we've gone through our course catalog and we've pulled courses that we think would be interesting for a high school student to take that would count towards any of a number of disciplines and academic programs and that we know lend themselves to being solid online offerings. So if you look at the list there on your screen, you're seeing things that come from business, from the humanities, from government, and from the natural sciences. So over the course of the Accelerated Scholars Program, you really do have an opportunity to take a diverse selection of material. So how does the program work? How is it structured? So beginning in the junior year of high school, in the spring semester, students in the Accelerated Scholars Program take one course. Subsequently, they take two courses over the summer in between their junior and senior years of high school. And then during the senior year, they take one course in the fall and one course in the spring. That works out to between 15 to 17 academic credits, 15 credits if you're not taking any sciences that might have labs, up to 17 if you take two science courses with labs. So why might somebody want to take additional college classes while they're still taking their high school schedule? Well, there are a number of reasons why this could be a really good experience for somebody. The first thing is that these courses potentially could be something that we call dual enrollment coursework. Depending on your school district, your guidance office might be able to count your college coursework towards your graduation requirements at your high school. So rather than taking an elective in the spring, something like an art class or an extra gym class or some sort of interesting class at your high school, you might be able to take macroeconomics with us to fulfill one of those requirements there. In the event that down the road you do decide to join us at Mercyhurst for your undergraduate degree, you could have the opportunity of already fulfilling a number of those core Reach curriculum requirements. So you'd already kind of be ahead of the game. Additionally, like I mentioned before, if you are going to any other 4- or 2-year school later on, these credits are easily transferable. Again, you'd be kind of ahead of the game in terms of earning a degree. In today's kind of college landscape, it's important to make sure that you're graduating on time. But if you find yourself with an opportunity to graduate early, there are a number of different benefits to you in the long run. The first thing is that if you're one of those folks who's already knows that you're going to engage in some sort of graduate study, whether that's a master's degree or med school or law school, if you have the opportunity of graduating early, that means you have an opportunity of starting that graduate program a little bit earlier as well. Also, if you go through the entire Accelerated Scholars Program, you're coming out with a semester's worth of credits. If you have the ability to graduate a semester early, that means you have the ability to go into the workforce a semester early. So if you're sending out resumes and applying for jobs 6 months before your classmates are, you kind of have a leg up on them in terms of getting those positions. There's also some added benefits while you're in school. If you're coming in with 15 academic credits, sometimes you have the ability to kind of jump in line in terms of scheduling classes for your freshman and sophomore year. Also, if you're coming in with credits, that also means you have some flexibility in terms of when you can take certain other courses. So maybe you're not the morning person and you've already taken macroeconomics, and macroeconomics is offered at 8 a.m. You could sleep in a little bit longer than some of your roommates. Also with that, there's greater opportunity to double major or minor in different areas of study because you do have already a number of credits under your belt. Additionally, and we'll talk about this the next slide, is that if you go through the Accelerated Scholars Program, there is substantial cost savings in terms of tuition for your bachelor's degree. So I've mentioned a couple times already, the Accelerated Scholars Program consists of 15 to 17 academic credits, or the equivalent of one full-time college semester. Included in the pricing for this program, students also are mailed and sent all of the textbooks and materials that are required for the program. So if you take American Government in the spring, the cost of your American Government book is included in your tuition. About 2 weeks prior to the beginning of the semester, we will ship you an Amazon-style box with your American Government book. And then at the conclusion of the semester, you just put it back in the box and mail it back to our bookstore. That also includes any supplies or needs for any of the science classes that you might take. So if you're taking human biology with us over the summer, we might mail you a dissection kit. Please don't mail that back. We don't need to see that. So for those textbook rental fees and the cost of the program, basically what we have come up with is a flat monthly payment of $139 over the course of 17 months. So the total cost of that program is $2,363 for an entire semester's worth of college credits. To make that pretty convenient and easy, we've also set up an opportunity where you can set up monthly payments will deduct automatically either from your bank account or could be charged to a debit or credit card. So you can set it and forget it at the beginning and just focus on your studies. The other added benefit of the Accelerated Scholars Program is that if you decide to eventually matriculate and join us for undergraduate study at Mercyhurst, virtually you're reimbursed for the cost of the Accelerated Scholars Program. So if you finish the ASP program and sign up to come here, basically you'd be eligible for a $2,500 scholarship that can be used anytime after your second year at Mercyhurst. That can be put towards the cost of any of a number of auxiliary educational opportunities, such as study abroad semesters. If you want to get really far ahead and take some summer coursework, you can put that scholarship towards those tuition costs. Sometimes there's internship opportunities that are for credit, and those credits have a tuition expense to them. You could put that scholarship towards those expenses. And then course overload charges. So if you're one of those really overzealous students and in any given semester you're trying to take as many classes as you possibly can over and beyond what our flat billing system allows, you could put that $2,500 scholarship towards those extra course charges. So if you're interested, how do you go about applying for this program? So if you are a current high school junior and you're interested potentially starting this program for our January semester, the application window is currently open. And if you go to the website that's listed on your screen there now or over the next few weeks, you can find our application on there. Also, if you just go to our Mercyhurst website and in the search bar type in Accelerated Scholars, you will link directly to the same website. You can fill out the application there. I would ask that you would submit a copy either of your current high school transcript or your latest grade report for our review. Students that will be accepted in the program should have at least a 3.5 cumulative high school GPA, and want to be able to do a little bit more of a challenging educational endeavor over the course of the next year and a half. If after tonight, and as Andrea mentioned, I'll be around to answer questions here for a while. But after tonight, if you come up with some questions that we don't cover, feel free and contact me either by email or at the phone number there. I'd be more than happy to dialogue with you about any individual concerns or questions that you might have.
Thanks so much, Steve, for that overview. I really appreciate it. As I said earlier, we are definitely here to go ahead and engage with you and answer any questions that you have. If you'd like to go ahead and either send us a text message or start posing some questions in the chat, I can go ahead and direct those to Steve on your behalf. While some students go ahead and gather those questions, Steve, can you tell us a little bit about whether or not they'll be taking these courses with some of our current students at Mercyhurst, or will it just be a class dedicated to students in the ASP program?
That's a great question. These are traditional college courses, which means there are traditional college students in those courses. So if you're a high school student in there, there's a good opportunity that you might be dialoguing in discussion groups or watching the same lectures that some of our freshmen, sophomores, and juniors might be doing while on campus.
Excellent. And one of the other questions I was wondering is, I know that you mentioned that students can actually begin applying now, but is there incentive to apply early? Do any of those classes that you actually listed ever fill, and then do students ever kind of get closed out of those seats as well?
Yeah, for the first semester, so students who want to start in the spring, I would recommend that you want to probably jump on it because those classes do fill up. But one of the added benefits of becoming an accelerated scholar student is that your future semesters, you're pre-registered for the courses that you select. So we will save a spot in your summer coursework or the coursework that you want to take next fall, which means you have the pick of the litter before any of our undergraduate students do. Don't tell them that.
I was going to say that's an excellent added benefit. And roughly about how many students would be taking a course? I know that you said it would be a mix of our students as well as some ASP students.
Mm-hmm.
Are the class sizes really large, or do you feel that there is an ability, even though it's an online course, for these students to still establish a relationship with faculty members? Yeah,
so most of our online courses are capped, just like our in-classroom courses are, generally at about 30 students. And that is to make sure that, again, that student experience is equal to what you would get in our Mercyhurst classroom. So you do have an opportunity to dialogue pretty regularly with your instructors and professors. You know, they're able to email back and forth with you very easily. They will you know, monitor your attendance in completing things, just like they would in a small classroom.
And I think sometimes it can be intimidating to think about enrolling in a class that, you know, college freshmen and potentially even sophomores might already be taking. Have you historically seen great success for students that are enrolled in the Accelerated Scholars Program?
Yeah, the students that have gone through our first cohort have done really, really well academically. And one of the things that I hear from them quite a bit, as well as from their parents, is kind of the added benefit of taking these classes that they didn't think that they would experience, is that there's this great opportunity to experience the pace and the rigor of a college class now. And kind of get a feel and understanding for what that's going to be like well before actually setting foot on a college campus. So when you are a freshman and your roommates are trying to figure out what it means to study for a course or what it means to write papers, you know, my ASP students are already kind of a year ahead of them.
And you do still think that it's possible for students to still enjoy the remainder of their junior and senior year in high school while also still taking this added academic challenge because they've already proven via their transcript that they are more than qualified students?
Definitely, yeah. I would say if you're a student who kind of is in our qualification zone for this program, you're more than able to handle the additional coursework. And again, it really depends on your school district and your high school too, in terms of where it fits in for you. Whether it can replace a course that you would typically take during the day in your high school schedule, or replaces a free period, or in some cases, if it's something extra that you would take. And I would say those would be discussions you probably want to have with your guidance counselor before applying. And if your counselor ever has any questions about course descriptions or equivalencies or those types of things, I'd be more than willing to talk with them and kind of iron those details out for you.
Thanks, Steve. I really appreciate that information. To our prospective students that have joined us, would anybody like to go ahead and unmute themselves and audibly ask a question to Mr. Gregg? If not, I'm happy to go ahead and keep interviewing him. In addition, feel free to go ahead and continue to engage in the chat too. I know that he would happily ask your questions. And like I said, this session is definitely for you. We hope that you enjoyed kind of the overview and some of the things that we've chatted with him about thus far. But Steve, in terms of picking their very first class, do you typically allow students just to pick whatever they're interested in? I know that when I started school, one of the things I was most nervous about at a collegiate level was tackling a science class because it wasn't really maybe my strong suit. Do you give students any of that guidance, or is it truly really up to them to go ahead and just pick what they feel is going to be the best fit for them?
Yeah, so the first thing is that list of courses that I showed you a little earlier. It's actually broken up into a course menu. So in any given semester, there might only be 5 or 6 options for you to choose from. That's done intentionally because we want to make sure that you're, like in the summer, if you're going to take a biology course, we want to make sure that the second course that you'll be taking with it is going to match academically in terms of rigor and challenge, okay? And then the other reason too is that first semester where you're getting acclimated to the idea of taking an online college class, what are the courses that are going to best allow you to do well, but at the same time kind of make that jump? So we've limited it to the 5 or 6 courses that we think kind of fall into those requirements.
So there's actually a question that's been posed to me too, Steve. Thanks for answering that one that I just gave you.
Mm-hmm.
But they were wondering if there's any penalty for failing to meet expectations if you do get into the program. So maybe what happens if somebody doesn't successfully pass the course or for some reason no longer feels they can complete the program?
Yeah, so the first thing is that we want to make sure that students are at least maintaining a 2.5 grade point average in their accelerated scholars classes, right? So a 2.5 is a C+. Okay. One of the things in my role that I do is I'm monitoring midterm grades, I'm monitoring final grades, I'm monitoring performance for my accelerated scholar students to make sure, one, that they're having the academic experience that they're supposed to have, and to make sure that it's not a burden on their high school schedule and high school academics as well. In the event that a student would decide in the middle of the program that maybe it's too much and they don't want to continue, there are options to withdraw or to shift courses around, those types of things. And I kind of work with students and families on those case-by-case basis to make sure that students are getting out of the program what we want them to get out of the program.
One of the other things I want to kind of elaborate on that is I feel like one of the strong suits about Mercyhurst is that our faculty really feel that their successes are judged by student successes. So I think many of the students that have joined us tonight obviously are very gifted academically. And sometimes part of the college experience is stumbling into a class that isn't quite as easy as you might have thought it was going to be going into it. But again, that's part of the challenge and part of the beauty of growing at a college setting. And one of the things I always tell students, whether they're freshmen or sophomores or even juniors or seniors, is if you do stumble into a class that isn't going quite as well as you wanted, there are lots of people that are willing to help you. And your first group of people that are happy to help you are usually your faculty members. But sometimes they don't always know that you need a subject revisited or something re-explained unless you actually ask for that help. So before you decide that you are intimidated and you don't want to do it because you don't think you're going to do well, please know that there is an application process for a reason. And again, we want to see you succeed just as much as our faculty do, and just as much as you want to do too. So I definitely would say that, if you have an interest in it, make sure you are submitting that application and working with Steve to go ahead and see if it is going to be a good fit for you.
And the other thing too is that our accelerated scholar students have access to all the resources that our undergraduate students do. So our tutoring center, our writing center, those types of things. And that's kind of my job over the course of our relationship, is to make sure that if you need those resources, I link you up with the people that can help you.
So thanks so much for posing that question. I appreciate it. It was a good question. Steve, roughly how many students do you think participate in the program, or how many are you looking to enroll this year? I know you talked about just your first cohort, but how many would you like to see?
Yeah, so our inaugural cohort consisted of 22 students, and going into cohort 2 beginning in January, I would anticipate probably 30 spots being available, but I can tell you that the program is popular and those are kind of filling up quickly.
Thanks,
So,
Steve. I appreciate it.
If you haven't applied yet and you have interest, we probably need to talk over the coming weeks here.
Excellent. Other questions that we might have from our prospective students here tonight? No? Well, if not, I hope we shared some tremendous information with you. And again, I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. I know this isn't the perfect replacement for actually getting to speak with Mr. Gregg or, seeing our campus or anything like that, but we do hope that you will continue to explore the Accelerated Scholars Program. I also think I can speak on behalf of my colleague Nina when I say we hope that you continue to explore Mercyhurst as a future collegiate option as well too. I think one of the most enjoyable parts about working in admissions and at Mercyhurst is that we get to know a lot of our prospective students and families very, very well. And we love when they do eventually end up matriculating at Mercyhurst. And it's going to be awesome to see students in the Accelerated Scholars Program eventually get to use that added scholarship when they come to campus, because I'm oftentimes very jealous of the study abroad opportunities that some of our students can participate in. So I hope that you continue to engage with us in this virtual setting. And if you do have any questions, I can't emphasize enough, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or Mr. Gregg. His contact information is in the chat. I wish everybody continued good health. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Happy Halloween and carpe diem, everybody. Have a great night.